All right. Hi. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and author of the Amazon bestselling book, Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent. And as of this Thursday, I am also the host of the Side Hustle Lounge podcast, where we're talking about legit income opportunities, personal growth and development, lifestyle design, and adventure. Three of my favorite topics. I'm here with my co-host, I think, Carol Ray. I saw her on a little earlier. Carol, are you here? Carol. I'm sure she's making her way here. It's that Texas internet she's having problems with, maybe. And Laura Biewer, my second co-host. Laura, did you make it on time? It's crickets, folks. Crickets. So it looks like it's just going to be you and me for the first little bit. I know Carol's or Laura's running a little bit late. Is that you, Laura? No, maybe not. And Carol, are you here? Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the new podcast launching. If you want to be in on the scoop on that, just go to sidehustlelounge.com and thank you for all the support. It's kind of exciting. The first 4 episodes are technically already up and available anywhere you listen to podcasts. That's Apple, that's Google, that's Stitcher. It's literally everywhere. And a friend of mine just showed me that you can actually talk to Alexa. She heard it anyway, and tell it to start playing, and it works there too. So yeah, Matt, he got my back. We'll tag team this for a little bit. I'm going to try to drag it out a little bit because the power of a community and a group like this in this particular call is the multiple perspectives of other people on here. So the way TNT works, it's like an old-fashioned call-in radio show. Use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Raise your hand, and we will do our best to call on you and answer your questions. What I will ask is that with the real document-specific questions, maybe this isn't the best venue for that just because of the time and we can't all see the document. I know all 3 of us, Carol, Laura, and myself, make ourselves available offline if you have a very specific document question. Or, of course, you can use the other resources at your disposal, the NNA hotline, your Secretary of State, and of course, the company or person that has hired you for the job you might be referencing. When we call on you, please tell us what state you're calling from, ask your question, and if we need follow-up information, we'll certainly ask. Carol, Laura, are you here yet? The name of the podcast is the Side Hustle Lounge podcast with Bill Soroka. And it's just sidehustlelounge.com. It's right here in the back too. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and slowly get into questions. Matt, you're here. You want to jump in and help us a little bit, offer some perspective until Carol and Laura get here?
Sure.
All right, wonderful. Denise, so good to see you. How's it going, Denise?
It's going great, Bill. Thank you. Happy to be on again this week.
Awesome. What state are you in and how can we help?
I'm in New York. I'm on Long Island. And my question is about power of attorneys. I know you just mentioned document specific, but this is kind of a general about power of attorneys. So I have one that I'm going to be doing, and I guess I just kind of want to get some shared experience as to the process and specifically on the witnesses involved.
Absolutely. So just to clarify, this is an actual power of attorney document, not a loan signing that has an attorney in fact, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Going to be for a son coming in from Florida as his father gets transitioned to a nursing home. So he wants to get a power of attorney done.
Excellent. Matt, you want to, what are some of your standard questions or procedures for power of attorney appointments?
Sure. So we want to know if the person is, lucid. Is he aware of what he or she is going to be signing, and are they willing to sign? And then obviously we want to know if they're able to physically sign the paper. Sometimes that can be an issue. Those are usually the top 3 questions I ask before booking the appointment. And then you had mentioned that
not hearing you.
document is
Top left on my keyboard. You'll have to
Sorry,
push
hold
the
on one
little button, and
second.
if you want to turn on the light, so you can see, Mom.
I'm
All
gonna
right, second
just
button.
mute. Carol, I just muted you, but I'm glad you made it. Welcome. All right, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No worries. So you had mentioned the document requires witnesses. Do you have the document in front of you?
I don't. I actually asked him if he knew which power of attorney he was utilizing, because I know there are different ones.
Yeah.
And he wasn't quite sure. So I recommended that he have an attorney review it. I believe they downloaded it.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Particularly because either attorneys aren't available or out of their cost ability. So if it does require witnesses, you're probably not going to find them at the facility because most facilities instruct their staff not to witness documents.
Right.
So you'll need to tell him that he's going to have to supply 2 witnesses that are not named in the document and do not benefit from the document in any way. So that would include his, say, for example, his, the agent's wife, the person who's going to be the agent, his wife or siblings or anybody that may benefit from that document could not be a witness. But it sounds like, just from my experience, I'm not an attorney, but just from my experience, if he mentioned witnesses, typically in my experience, a financial power of attorney doesn't require witnesses, but a health proxy or a healthcare directive does. So you might show up, just keep this in mind, and it turns out it's not a power of attorney at all, but more so a healthcare directive. But
he mentioned both. He mentioned both. So it's going to be both involved.
Good.
He talked about bringing a cousin. I don't know if that's kind of a slippery slope.
Just as long as the cousin is not named in the document and doesn't benefit from the document in any way, should be fine. And then another person as well. I typically, personally, I like to refrain from providing witnesses because that kind of mitigates my liability threshold. But if they can't supply witnesses, on occasion, I have been able to find a notary colleague that's willing to do it, something like that. I hope that helps.
Yes, very much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great question, Denise. Enjoy your appointment.
Thanks, Bill.
Nice job, Matt. Alicia Jones, thank you so much. Oh, actually, let's hold on one second, Alicia. Let's welcome Carol to TNT. Carol, I'm so glad you made it. Are you with us?
I apologize. I was a little late. I had 2 back-to-back last-minute mentoring calls. So
no problem at all. Yeah, so glad you made it. Thank you. This is Carol Ray. Everybody knows Carol, founder of Notary2Pro.com. Carol, can you tell us something you're either excited about or you want to tell people what you do at Notary2Pro?
I'm going to tell you something I'm excited about. We moved into a new house in Texas. But we're doing some remodeling, and I'm so excited because starting Thursday, I get a whole new bathroom.
Nice. All right. Congratulations. I'm so glad that finally worked out.
Yeah.
And it looks like Laura Biewer has joined us as well. Laura, thank you so much for being here, founder of CoachMeLaura.com and so much more. Laura, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us what you're excited about or what you do at Coach Me Laura.
So I'm Laura with Coach Me Laura and the Notary Symposium, and I help notaries help them be more confident, competent, and expand their business. I am excited. What am I excited about? My husband got his vaccine today. I've already had both of mine, but he finally got his, yay. May 4th, then he'll have a second one, and then he might be able to hold his grandson. Right now, though, I got to do it first, so I'm excited about that, and I hope his vaccine experience goes as well as mine, because I had zero issues afterwards. So I hope his is the same. And it's a great day in the neighborhood today.
Awesome. Yes, it is. Well, thank you so much for making it here. I know both of you were back to back, so glad it all worked out. We are going to move on. And Matt, thank you so much for stepping up. Matt was my temporary co-host there while you guys were gone. Appreciate that. Always. Alicia Jones from Pennsylvania. Thanks for being here. Would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Hi guys, thank you for having me again. I just have a really quick question. So I was going over my primer and it says we have to have the date and we have to have by the person's name. But what if the document says date and year aforesaid? Is that okay? Or do I have to cross that out and put the actual date?
I'm not getting it.
I'm
The
not
date
sure.
it says is referring to the date in the document. So
So the previously mentioned
certificate
date.
says,
Gotcha.
right.
Oh.
So it says date and year aforesaid in the certificate part.
And in Pennsylvania, are you required to have the date within your statements of action? Is
Right.
what
So
I
it
would look
says
at.
it says to put the date in. The date of the thing and who is by.
So if my state said that I'm required to have the date within my statement of actions or my certifications, then I would want to put the date in there rather than saying the aforementioned.
Yeah.
All right. That was it. Thank you guys.
Yep, no problem. Great question. Thanks, Alicia.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, Randy Venters, always a pleasure to see you on here. You want to unmute and let everybody know what state you're in and ask your question.
I am in the state of Washington. I got kind of three questions. Two of them are related to the journal. First one is, when we write a time in the journal, how specific do we need to be on the time? If I have a loan signing at 2 o'clock, but it doesn't start at 2:04, do I actually need to put 2:04 or is 2 o'clock fine?
This is such a great question. Laura, I'm going to pass this to you because I love your strategy on this.
Well, I think you should be as accurate as you can be. If it's 2:04 and that's when you are, notarizing, I'd put 2:04. And if it was 2:15 for the next document, I'd put 2:15. And then if the third document came along at 2:18 and then the next one was 3 o'clock, whatever it is, I put those exact times. That's when I was performing the notarization.
All right, thank you. And my second question is, so I had a signing on Saturday and I did 4 copies of a power of attorney for the same signer. And I'm using the Integrity Journal in Washington. Do I need to list that 4 different times, or can I put power of attorney and then, parentheses, 4 copies, or note in my notation that I did sign 4 copies of the same form?
So Randy, that's not about the journal. That's about what does your state require. If you notarized 4 times, right, that's 4 separate notarizations. For me, I would have to have 4 separate line entries. Even though it's the same document, I issued 4 certificates, right? So there are 4 separate notarizations. So does Washington require you to have a separate entry for every document, or do they give you a shortcut on a repeat document like that? I would need to look that up to see what Washington says, but I'm just phrasing it this way for other people in other states to know that when you're thinking about this, you always need to come back to what does my state say versus the type of journal I'm in, because that journal may or may not work for or facilitate what's required for you. So Randy, do you happen to know if you are given in Washington any shortcuts?
I don't know to that specific question. I know we have shortcuts, like we can abbreviate affidavit and jurat.
Okay.
But I don't know about
right.
this specific question.
But maybe not duplicate documents.
Right.
So the answer becomes either my state allows that, and then you could just put it 1 time times 3 more. You could just indicate the quantity. My state does not allow that. Then the answer would be you need to write it 4 times.
Okay. And then my last one was, so this was for a mobile home, and the title company included blank documentation for the DMV that needed to be notarized. And I had no idea how to fill it out, and the signers had no idea how to fill it out. So we called the title officer, and she wasn't for 100% sure what needed to be filled out. but I needed to notarize it. And the question was, how much can they fill out and me notarize it? And then what can be filled out after I've notarized it by someone else?
That's a good
Tough
question,
one.
actually. And was it an acknowledgement?
Yes. So I was acknowledging that they filled it out and that was their information, and they were the ones signing it.
I would say the only things that could be left out would be things that would be filled out by somebody after the signer. So if it was items that the information is provided by the DMV, let's say, I could be comfortable with letting that go, but anything else needs to be filled out by the signer at the time, and they may have to scramble to get the information.
Okay, because I end up leaving them blank. I talked to the title officer, and we end up conceding to leave them blank until she could get an answer. To me, not notarize it until she got the answer, and then she was going to get with the signers again to sign them.
Okay.
And see if and you get them to go to the DMV, because in Washington, either you go to the DMV and it doesn't need to be notarized, or if you're doing it separately, then it does need to be notarized. So she conceded just to have them go to the DMV later in the week.
Okay.
Seems like a
Then
safe
that's what
workaround.
that's what they needed to do. We really don't want to be leaving blanks in documents we're notarizing, because who knows what's going to get put in there after the fact. The idea of notarization is it says, here's what the document looked like when I notarized it. And if things can be changed or added after, then, it takes away the power of that certificate.
All right, thank you.
Great questions, Randy. Thanks for being here. All right. In just a few minutes, guys, we're going to invite Renee and Leslie, who are from Notary PPP. You may have seen the presentation that we did on Saturday, but they're going to pop in, and for anybody who missed that full presentation, and just talk to us for about 10 minutes about what PPP is and how notaries might benefit from that program. That's going to be coming up in just a few minutes. Jack Butler from Illinois, thanks for being here. How can we help today?
Hey, Bill, thanks for having me. So my question is it's a two-part question for the same scenario. So I had a signing last week where the borrowers they were a married couple, but they had different last names. So the mortgage document was initially showed as unmarried. And I wasn't sure up until the point of the signing. So I was at the signing when we discovered this. And so we had to call the lender to get a new mortgage document sent over. Basically, it took a very long time for the documents to actually get sent out. So I ended up leaving and then coming back later in the day to get everything signed and filled out for that day. But it was a game of phone tag that I was trying to figure out kind of where is the responsibility, or kind of when should I really almost like I'm not put my hands up because I want to solve the problem, but kind of just be like, okay, until the documents are ready for me to actually do anything, there's nothing that I can do with this signing, versus when should I keep trying to call to get an ETA to figure out what the status of everything. So I had called everyone, let everyone know. They had told me that they were going to send the documents over, but no ETA was given. So I was just kind of sitting around waiting for the documents. And so I was sitting at the signing for a while. I said, hey, I don't live too far away. So it's because it's been, 45 minutes later, I'm just going to pack up the documents and then go. And then, when they get printed off and everything, I'll come back and we'll get it signed. And it was my last signing. But I'm just trying to, ask advice on kind of what is the bounds of how long I should wait, when do because I tried to escalate this as much as possible. When do I just kind of say, let the powers be as they will? And if it gets printed and sent over, great, I'll take care of it. If not, I've done everything within my power. That's part A of the question. And then part B is for the whole. Can
we stop right there at part A? Would that be okay?
Yeah.
I just want to give Carol, I wonder if you'd like to answer the first part of Jack's question.
Sure. Okay, first of all, they were going to redraw the documents. Is that correct understanding? Yes. Okay, they're doing a total redraw. I would find out and get them committed as to whether or not they're going to be doing it the same day, or this may take a day or two. If they say it's the same day, save that time. If you have it, if you're not already booked. And when you get them, it's a matter of just going back out that same day and servicing the client. If they say it's going to be in a day or two, you're going to have to alert the client that it could be a couple of days, and to make sure that their schedule is going to allow the next couple of days, let's say, for an appointment with you. That's what I would do. But stay on top of it, because a lot of times you're not going to see those documents for a week. And, so you want to keep your people informed. That's what I would do.
Love that. And I'll piggyback right on that, because that's exactly how I kind of approach it. I really value my time. And of course, I didn't come into this business just knowing that documents can sometimes take 15 minutes or 6 hours, right? That's a lesson that you learn. So once I learned that this could literally be mean, oh, I'm going to fix it and send it right over, or it might mean we have to send this up, underwriting has to review it. It could be, like Carol says, days, sometimes, or a week. So I'll ask that question, just like Carol suggested, be proactive. And then I don't like uncomfortable silences either. So I'm not going to sit at their table and like, what you guys cooking, So I'll just say, guys, I have a few other appointments. You are my top priority though. So as soon as these documents are done, I will confirm with you and the lender, and we are going to make this work. Do you have any time constraints later on in the day? Anything we can work around? Soccer practice, dinner, whatever it might be. Then I know what the boundaries are, and I can decide if I can make that work or if I can't. I don't have to have that conversation necessarily with the borrower right there, right? Like if I'm like, oh, I'm slammed all night, there's no way I can do this. I can maybe finagle something later, or I can talk to the hiring company and just say, here's where we're at, and here's my limitations. What can we do?
However, Bill, I would like to know if you're spelling something really good.
Exceptions can be made. Absolutely. Enchiladas are always the exception. Laura, did you have anything that you might offer Jack on here before we get to part B of his question?
No, I think the two of you got it. Ask what the estimated time is, and based on how far away you are, based on how much time they gave you, that would determine if I'm ready to pack up and leave, or if I need to hang out for a little bit.
Awesome.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So part B was more just around kind of, again, having to travel back home and then travel back to the signing. Do you guys recommend, or is there any room to then renegotiate, because like having to go back out to make a second trip in that case, or do you guys typically just let that be? Is it a case by case basis? I was just curious, because for this one it was a short distance, but if that had happened where I had to travel 45 minutes out or something and deal with traffic again or something, that is a different situation that I just wanted to be prepared for the next time.
What great question. And I would say case by case, of course, but in my opinion, you have every right to ask for more. In fact, in some scenarios, this might be a complete new signing fee, a new signing appointment. Now, try to explain that to a signing company these days. They may disagree with you. So I always keep the big picture in mind. So do I want to is this going to cause friction with this client? Or can I be a hero here? And can I consider this extra trip an investment in that relationship? That's what I'm always thinking. Is it worth having that conversation? Is it worth going through? What's more important? An extra 25, an extra 100, 150, or 100,000? That's what I'm always weighing in my mind, because my clients, that's what I always have in my head. Every client could possibly be worth $100,000 a year in revenue. Do I want to fight over $60, or do I want to just keep investing in this? And then if it became like a repeat offense, then we already know the answer to that, right? If that's a client I don't want to work with, somebody's going to take advantage of me and they're completely unorganized. Carol, Laura, do you have a different opinion on that?
I'm agreeing with you completely. But being a hero is something I talk a lot about, because that can make or break your business. And it can put you sky high with some of these companies that you work with when you manage to save a deal and you treat the people right, no matter what's going on. I can't count how many deals my husband and I over the years actually saved because of what we put a lot of effort into. And when I hear stories from my graduates that they've done that, I know what's coming for them, which is great, a lot of service, a lot of signings from the company that they really backed up and saved.
Yeah, this is so true. And this is going to drive this home. I know this is a little cliche, but if you do what everybody else is doing, it gets really congested, right? But if you go the extra mile, there's no traffic, because very few people put in that extra, are willing to do that extra step. Nobody else is doing that. When you start doing what other people aren't willing to do, that's when your real value to the marketplace starts to show.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Patty Jansen, love seeing you on here.
Hello,
What state are you in?
I am in Oregon.
All right. And how can we help?
So I've been doing off and on a lot of seller packages, and I always have just something that I'm not sure of. And I know Carol worked in escrow, so I wanted to ask here. A lot of the packets have an Alta affidavit and an application for title insurance. There is a place for a venue at the top of the form, and then you have your notary block at the bottom. I did a signing this morning, and I was in a title office, and I thought I'm going to ask them, because I'm never sure. Is that venue at the top of the page for where the property is? I mean, I know my notary one is always where I'm signing. And I asked the escrow officer that was there, and she said, it doesn't really matter. We leave it blank a lot of times. And I didn't like the answer. It's like, the property's in sometimes a different state, a different county. So I'm curious what Carol would say.
Well, without seeing the document, I rarely would ever see anything but where the property is located.
So, yeah, and then I've gone back and forth, and for the escrow officer to say it doesn't matter, it's like, so we went with the signing location, which was the same state, but it's a different county. But it's the very top of the Alta affidavit, and it's the very top of the application for title insurance. And I would think it's related to the property, but I don't know.
Well, on an affidavit, you might find it. So it's like a one page, the whole thing is like the notary certificate.
No,
Is there a separate place to put the venue?
Yes, it's up at
Then
the
it's
top.
property address.
It's the property. Okay, then I'm going to go with that from now on. My notary block has my state and county in it, and up on top there is just another one.
And I want to get everybody to understand what's going on in this world today. Back in the days when I was escrow officer and then an escrow manager, you knew what you were doing. You knew every phase of what you did. It took me 3 years to get trained. I worked at a bank, and it took 3 years to be able to get my, certificate. So what you're going to find today is that there are no longer, at least not very many, and I think Bill will back me up, not very many escrow officers that know the whole thing, from taking the orders to the disbursement of funds, which involves so much work. And so you find that you ask questions, and you're not always going to get a knowledgeable answer from them.
Okay.
They do little pieces.
Yeah.
And too many.
Then on the new 1003, if it's a joint application, there's the place for the initials. So when the first time I got it, I asked, just sent a note to the escrow person where it says initials. Do you want the initials of both, or is it just initials for each person in their section? And the reply was, I've been wondering the same thing. I have been putting initials of both of them in each place. So it's like, that's what I'm doing, but I don't know. There's no direction on what is correct. So.
Well, I think there's the name of one of them is on one page, and then 5 pages in. I haven't looked at it lately, but I would only have that person who's addressed on that particular page
I
sign.
think that's exactly how
Even
it's
where it
supposed to
says
work.
joint credit, just one sign.
Yeah, because it calls for, it's only mentioning one person, as I
Okay.
understand. I have it. It would take me a few minutes to get into it. I haven't
Okay.
looked for a long time, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
That's
Okay,
the idea
fair.
behind it, but I have heard there are
Okay.
some lenders that don't understand it. There's some closing agents. There's a lot of confusion around it, but it's
Yeah.
designed for each individual borrower to initial in their own place.
Okay.
And it's up to us to fight when they say no. No, you're going to go against the document that we sent you
Yeah.
and do what we want to do.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Patty. Laura, would you like to bring up our guests?
Yeah, I want to make sure they're here. Renee Dentman, is she? I'm not seeing, I can't see everybody, so I
I
don't
can't
know if
either.
she's-
Renee or
She's
Leslie?
coming on.
Up there's
She's getting ready to sign
Leslie.
in. Yes.
Good. All right, great. So we have two special guests with us today, and it is about the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. And they're going to talk just for a few minutes to give you the highlights of why that's important for us to pay attention to, how we might qualify for that, and what we would need to do to participate in it. And Leslie, I'll let you start. Unless Renee's here.
Okay.
Leslie, you want to
Hello,
start?
everybody. Yes. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Can.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Leslie. So I am a part of NotaryPPP.com along with Renee, and I am a real estate broker, but I'm also a loan signing agent. So Renee and I have both applied for the PPP loan, and we were having some difficulties whenever we initially applied. Once we got through that process and learned the program, we wanted to reach out and help our fellow notaries be able to complete the process with ease. So that's how we came up with Notary PPP. But what I'll do first is talk a little bit about the PPP program, just so you'll know if you're even eligible for it. And if you want any other information, we'll give you the information to be able to reach out to us. Some of the key points of the program is if you were in business prior to February 15th, 2020. So basically before the pandemic had started. The reason that they started the PPP program was to help small business owners and 1099 gig workers and sole proprietors throughout the pandemic, because number one, we are solely dependent on ourselves. So whenever our income stops, we didn't really have a source to be able to get funds to keep going. So they set up this program. So if you were in business pre-pandemic, that's one requirement that would make you eligible. The second thing that you would need to have done is had a gross income for your business of at least $5,000. That needed to be either in 2019 or 2020. If you meet those two requirements, then you were actually eligible for the program. And another thing, so if you meet that, you're eligible. And the way you can verify that if you're unsure of what you made, if you look at your tax return on your profit and loss form on Schedule C, line number 7, that will show your gross income. Definitely look at that. We have received a few applications where unfortunately some people did not meet that requirement. So definitely just look at it. And if you're unsure, we can help you through that process as well. Now, another thing is a lot of people want to know, is this loan going to be forgiven? Because you don't want to incur any debt. It's pretty much transfers into what you would call a non-taxable grant, because the loan is 100% forgivable if you use it on qualified expenses for your business. The number one thing that you must do with it is pay yourself. If you don't have any employees, you need to pay yourself. Because 60% of the forgiveness for the loan is based off of payroll. And if you're a sole proprietor or just an individual owner, the easiest way you can show that is by writing a check to yourself from your business account and just putting owner's withdrawal on it, or doing a transfer from your business account to your personal account and notating what that transfer was for. And it would be considered paying yourself, okay? So at least 60% of it needs to be used for that, for forgiveness. The remaining 40%, if you don't need that to pay yourself, you can use it for operational costs for your business. That can be things like printers, ink, paper, whatever items or expenses you have for your business, including like software. If you're using anything like Notary Gadget and stuff like that, that all counts. It's part of the expenses. It can also be used for rent and utilities, mortgage interest. So there's really no way it should not be forgiven for you, because it can be used on things that we already are doing just to survive anyway. Sorry about that. Okay. So most people will definitely have this loan forgiven. I will say that in order to apply for forgiveness, it's a simple application that you would fill out at the end of your process. So whenever they disperse the funds to you, you have 8 to 24 weeks to use them. Now, does that mean you have to spend them all? No. If you pay yourself with it to your personal account, then you can save it there. But you need to at least complete the transactions within a 24-week time frame. At the end of that 24 weeks, you will get a communication from your lender letting you know you're eligible to start the process for forgiveness. Once they send you that application, it's all done online, and it usually takes about 5 minutes, and you will be able to go ahead and apply. It's very simple, and they are keeping it that way as long as your loan is under $150,000. They don't want to complicate it because they know we are small business owners. So they try to make that really easy. So that's pretty much the gist of the program. I will say that we are doing weekly Zooms every Monday night, and you can register for those on our website. They're at 5:30 Pacific time, 8:30 Eastern time. And we can answer any questions you have there, or you are welcome to email us at info@notaryppp.com. We typically respond within an hour or less on our email, or you can call and leave us a voice message and we can call you back. Thankfully, Bill and Laura did allow us to speak over the weekend, and we've already had people submit their application and get approved and get sent in for SBA funding. So our process is pretty quick. We've been able to get it down to about 7 to 10 days, as long as we have all of your documents. And I'll just briefly mention what documents you will need to be able to apply. You will at least need your February 2020 bank statement, your March 2021 bank statement, your driver's license, your tax return for 2019 or 2020, and a voided check. If you have all of those documents, then the application process is very simple.
Awesome. Nice job, Leslie. Great to see you again. Thanks for being here. Laura, any follow-up questions?
Thank you.
Just that I personally applied, and then I recently did the forgiveness approval, and it was approved. So all the money that they gave me has been approved. So that was a tax-free grant for me that I could utilize to put into my business. My husband's was a contractor. We applied for him and his was forgiven. And so the forgiveness was even easier than the application. It was one page. They already had the information. I just signed it and said, yes, I can provide documentation if you ask for it. And that was it. And it went through. So it was really helpful for both of us at the time. And I think the other thing is, if anybody like me already applied and got it, there is a second round. There is a qualification for that, that you have to show you made 25% less than any particular quarter. So if that applies to you, call them and find out. And if you're not sure, call them and find out, and do it sooner than later, because even though the deadline's not to the end of May, they're going to run out of money. The PPP program is going to run out of money in a few weeks. And then doesn't matter if you qualified, there isn't any money to give you.
I just have another part that I just want to add. someone asks, is it only for notaries? No, it's for 1099 gig workers, self-employed, sole proprietorship, anyone. Most common side hustles, Bill Soroka, such as Postmates and Uber and Dash, those, they don't even know that they're eligible. They can still use our platform to go through. So I just wanted to articulate that and stress that too, because I saw that in the chat. For those that don't know, my name is Renee Denman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee. Leslie, great to see you on here again. And thank you for coming up with a way to help our notary community. I love it. Guys, Renee and Leslie did a full, almost an hour presentation with us on Saturday. I've got that uploaded to YouTube. I posted it into the comments too. If you want to learn a little more information before you reach out and contact, feel free to do so. But if you just want to jump in and contact them, they're very responsive in their phone and their email, and their contact information is in the chat. All right, thank you. Shall we get back to questions?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Kristen Benbow, thank you so much. How can we help today in California?
Thank you. You get me twice today. This is 2 questions around stamps and fraud. That gentleman earlier said that he had a stamp for acknowledgement, and my mind is blown, because when I look at this, how do you stick that on a stamp? Like, the wording is so small already. If I turn that into a business card, like, you can't see anything. So I think this might be for Carol, or I'm not sure.
Laura, what do you think of those acknowledgement stamps in California?
So you're in the wrong state, California. Our acknowledgement is so dang big. I did have an acknowledgement stamp, and you know how big it was? It was the size of like a what do you call those note cards? That size. It took almost half of the bottom 8 by 11 sheet, and I used it a couple of times, and I have to say, it really just didn't work. Because it's so big, it's hard to apply even pressure to it. So it didn't come out well. So I just don't recommend it. I recommend it for the jurat. And I use that one all the time, but not the acknowledgement. We just have too much to say.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. I was like, there's no way. Appreciate that. And then what did he, Bill, what did he mean by California disclaimer stamp? Is that little thing at the
That's
top?
the notice box. It's called the notice box at the top.
Yes, that's the disclaimer stamp.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can buy that as a stamp. You can buy it by itself as a stamp, so that if you had good wording, but it was just missing that, you could put it on there and save the certificate. However, it's important to know that it has to be placed above the venue and cannot be placed anywhere else, and nothing else except the venue can follow it. So if you don't have the right space to put it, don't do it.
Got it.
Replace it.
California is so picky.
I know.
So picky. All right, great question, Kristen.
Thank you. And then the other one was basically just around preventing fraud. I saw a post, someone is getting subpoenaed, and because I think someone used the attachment and applied it to something else. So to prevent problems in the future, would I say, for example, see attached POA, and then on the power of attorney, I would say see attached acknowledgement or jurat, and then staple it.
Yeah, I always, when I indicate on the document when I'm attaching, and then on the certificate at the bottom, I always indicate what the document is, number of pages and date that it belongs to. And if it's not loan signings, I always staple.
Okay.
So I do all of those.
Cool, thank you.
All right, yep, great questions. Thank you, Kristen. Kira, thank you so much for being here. You want to tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help?
Hi, I'm from the state of Texas. I don't know whether this is a question or not, so I'm just gonna try to phrase it as a question. Forgive me.
Sure.
I'm trying to, well, I've already pretty much figured it out, but it's just to help someone else that may be new. Coming back from bad training, when you've already established bad practices with a company, and then because of bad training you were given, and then you go get new training that blows your mind and tells you all these things and how you're supposed to do it correctly. And now you're going, and I know most trainers give their list of companies that they have. My current trainer, who was Notary to Pro, who's the trainer that I'm through now, gave me a list of training. And my question is, when I looked at that list, a lot of those people I've already created a bad relationship with based on bad training that was given to me before, or bad practices that I was taught. And I'm trying to figure out how to come back from that now that I have the proper training, and I'm a, you know, for me, I'm a, notary pro now. So instead of a notary not so great at the job, just trying to get the job and worrying more about, oh, well, I'm going to be able to make this amount in this amount of time, which is not actually how it goes. I hope you understood that.
Yeah, well, Kira, I mean, number one, thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to bring that to us. I love this. This is a question I know there are thousands of notaries. If they're not asking this of themselves, they should be. So I love this. And I'd love to open this up to Carol and Laura. What do you think about this? How do you mend those bridges once you've quote unquote seen the light?
Well, I
Figure things
personally have
out.
talked to Kira. Are you unmuted? Yeah, I'm unmuted. Barbara's here with me, and I'm showing it as Barbara. I'm using her computer. But I told her that, first of all, the companies that we have on our list really know our graduates. She happened to have kind of messed things up with signature closers, and they have been promoting our graduates for years. She can go out there, and if she's made mistakes, there's no reason in the world why she can't talk to someone, let them know that she has gotten better training and she's more suited and knows how to handle herself a little bit better. And I think that she'll be fine if she opens up and she's honest with them. Because I talked to her at length, and she didn't, it's not like she did really horrible things, but she's so conscientious and so concerned about doing what's right, that I was very proud of her for coming to me and telling me what she'd done. And I'm happy that she's with us now.
Oh, love that. Love that. Great advice too. Laura, what do you say?
Well, I agree with Carol. First of all, I think that because she's gotten training that's now recognized by so many companies as stellar training, reaching back out to say, I've done work in the past for you. I have since gotten this training, and name dropping, Notary to Pro. And I am ready to earn your business. I think recovery ends up creating a stronger relationship in the end, by being willing to step up to say, okay, I wasn't hitting the mark, but I know I am now. And this is what I've done to do that. I've invested in myself to be exactly what you need. So what can I do to earn your business? And I can't imagine the good signing companies out there are not going to give a second chance when they see that steps were taken by the notary to change it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. This is a very human experience business. And I'll tell you, from a signing company perspective, the challenge isn't so much the mistakes. Sure, that gets a little frustrating. The challenge comes from either people who don't learn from them, or they have just a different approach to fixing them that is not part of like a solution base. It's like, I'll bill you for that. It's an error I made. I'll bill you for that, or whatever it might be. But people who go the extra mile just to say, hey, you called me out on this and you were right. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know what I didn't know. So here's what I've done to fix that. Those are the people I want to work with. And I love how you said it, Laura, but I think when people get down in it together, we come out stronger together. I love working with notaries where there's just no problems at all. But the ones that we get down in it and we solve a problem together, there's a different kind of bond there. So I think there's an opportunity for a relationship there. And that's exactly what I would do. And then I would also, and I think this is going to be key to your own peace of mind, is release the outcome. You cannot control how other people receive the information. Some people will think like me and they're like, oh, she's committed. I'm gonna take her on again. Others might just say, nope, forget it. We no room for that. And you've got to be prepared for that and know that it's okay and think from abundance. There is plenty of other people who are going to see value in what you have to offer. And the fact that you're committed to constant, continuous improvement, which I think even recognizing that maybe one training didn't fill that need for you and you went and got another one suggests that highly. And I think you can thrive with that attitude.
And one of the things that I train my notaries, and they've been wonderful over the years to do this, is that we're all human. You're going to make mistakes. Believe me, Notary to Pro is full of the mistakes that I made over the years. But you accept the responsibility graciously, and then you get up off your you know what, and you go fix it. And you don't wait a day or two. You do whatever you have to do to get it fixed. And that solves everything. They have more respect for you.
I find that if you take that on too, the drop everything and fix it is what I call it. But if you do that for your mistakes and for their mistakes, you really forge a strong relationship in this, because lenders make mistakes.
You're the hero.
Closing agents, you get to be the hero to the transaction.
That's
and that's
right.
how these long-term relationships come out. Kira, thank you so much. I think you may have dropped off, but thank you for sharing that anyway. I think that is an amazing perspective that you allowed us to share here. Dan
Thank you. I'm
Trelson.
still here.
Oh, there you are. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Dan Trail Sims, always a pleasure to see you on here. How's it going in Texas?
Oh, it's good. It's always a pleasure to be here, Bill. I wanted to bring up, because earlier someone asked me, they said I have an influx of signing, not signing appointments, general notary appointments, and they, I guess they kind of wanted to outsource them, and because it was kind of getting too much. And I heard that it would become a point in time where you kind of have to turn them down, right? But you don't really want to turn business down. So that sounds like a great idea to just kind of outsource to notaries that you kind of trust, that are kind of in the area, in your local area, to make sure that everybody gets a piece of the pie, especially if someone speaks only Spanish or something like that. And then you kind of have like a someone that speaks only Spanish that's a notary that will be down to help if you call them. So
yeah, and in German and French, and I'm trying to think of the one we were looking for. It was an obscure language where only like 1% of the population on Earth spoke it, and we found one in Chicago. It was really fascinating. But this is speaking to building a network and how important that is to build a network of people that you trust and that you can count on, for sure. Did you have a question specifically about it, or how to do it, or where were you going with that?
I just thought that was a great idea. And a best practice. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah,
I think that's something that everybody should definitely, so we all can be interconnected and and kind of help each other out. So
yeah, I'm so glad you brought it up. And forums like this are a place to connect. Like, I love all the friendly, helpful chatter in the chat. You guys are connecting. This is the time to either fortify a relationship or start the groundwork on a relationship right here in the chat window on these calls. Laura, I wonder, because you're the queen of building your network of people that you trust, especially for general notary work. Do you have any suggestions for people looking to do that right now?
Yeah, if you're looking to do that, and that's one of your main goals out of having that connection, is to talk about it up front. Meaning, what would be the expectations, number one. Number two, what is their knowledge level? I will not personally refer work to strangers. If somebody's calling me and it's my company and I need to then refer it out because I can't handle it, I'm going to look for my network. And the people in my network are people that I personally know. I've met them in person. I know what their mindset is. I know how they communicate with people. I know their competency level. I know those things about them, so that I don't have any hesitation in saying, you know what, you're going to want to call Nina. She's right there in your area. She happens to speak Spanish, or she has this skill or that skill. Let me get you connected. When somebody just calls and they're just looking for somebody, I might tell them how they'll find a notary, but I don't give a personal referral unless I know about that person. And then the other thing is the expectation. My expectation is if I pass work on to you, it's a gift. I don't need anything back. But that's my expectation. Somebody else might think, hey, I passed on, 10 jobs to you. Where's something for me? So you guys need to decide up front, what's that relationship look like?
I love that. And to piggyback on that, these relationships that you have with like your inner circle of referral friends, these are not to be forced. You don't want to fall into the same trap. Just like we say, don't jump from, hi, I think you're cute, to let's get married in the first contact. It's the same rule applies for your notary network. Let these organically and intentionally grow, because you have to know, like, and trust your other notaries too, because your reputation is on the line. When you start referring people out, they're going to remember the person who referred them. Oh my gosh, that terrible notary that Bill sent me to. That's what they're going to remember. Or that amazing, or I can always call Bill because he knows somebody who can help me out with this, this, and this. So you want to keep that circle nice and tight. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't force the growth. Those,
Right.
a lot of the relationships Laura's talking about have spanned years, because she's got to see their work. She's got to see what they're all about, what makes them tick, how they're going to treat people, even after the fact. So that's important stuff. Dan Terrell, thanks for sparking the conversation. Yeah, Carol,
I want to piggyback on you. Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I remember a couple of years back that I formed a very important networking group, and that happened to be you, me, and Laura.
Yeah.
Look what we've done over the last few years. But one of the things I wanted to add, because I had a networking group when we lived in Arizona, and once you get to the point where you trust each other, you are so far better off to, if you can't do a signing, to recommend somebody from your networking group, because you can trust them, and it actually helps them. It helps you keep your business. For number one, they're not going to hire somebody outside of your network and maybe, go to them instead. And if they hire somebody from your network, they will learn to trust you. And if you have to get out of that signing and hand it over to somebody, it's a two-way street. They know that anybody that you recommend, they can trust as well.
Yeah, huge. All right, Dan Terrell, thanks for sparking that conversation. I think we have time for one more question. We have 2 minutes. Linda Edwards, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody what state you're in and how we can help.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Hi, I'm Linda Edwards from California. I'm also a Notary 2 Pro graduate. Hi, Carol. Hi, Laura. Anyways, I have a question. When you do the loan signings, and it's about journal entries, when you do your loan signings, are you supposed to put a fee next to the acknowledgements and jurats that you do when you do your loan signings? Or since you get paid by the signing service, or
yeah, Laura, you get to end with an easy one.
Well, Linda, do you mean in the journal?
Yeah, she's talking about the journal.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, in the journal, you can put the fee right there, and you cannot put more than $15, which is the maximum for us per line entry that you're filling out. And yes, it is required to put something there. If you're not charging, put 0.
Well, I didn't know if I was charging, not since I'm getting one fee as a loan, doing a loan signing. So I didn't know how that works.
Well, I think she's referring to the fact that you want to put just what your notary fees are, because they're deductible from your taxes. They're not taxed. So if you do $100 signing with 2 notarizations in California, you would put $30 as the fee.
Well, you would put, in the journal, it would be 15 and 15 for the 2 notarizations, and all the rest of it, along with the $30, goes into Notary Gadget, Notary Assist, whatever your bookkeeping software is, because all of it is taxed for IRS income tax, 100%. Even the notary fee is taxed for the IRS. It's only the The exemption is only for that Social Security Medicare part. So you want to track all your income outside of it, but in your journal, only track notarial fees.
And I put you on mute, Linda, because we were getting lots of background noise. So you'd have to unmute if you're still talking.
Did that answer your question, Linda?
Yes, I wasn't sure how to write that out of my journal for us since I was getting 1 fee for my loan signing. I know we had to deduct the notary parts of it. So that's good. Okay. And I think that
Yeah. Now, speaking of that, I am going to post a link because Laura did an amazing skill builder on journal entries. So I'm going to post that in the link. Here it is, journal training. If you're looking for a great journal training, there's a link to that in the chat. Now, remember, you guys can save the chat. If you're on a computer, just in the lower right-hand corner of the chat window, click those 3 dots and it will allow you to save to your computer. If you're not on a computer, I don't think you can save that chat. So you want to connect, maybe network with some of the other people on this call so they can save it for you and maybe forward it to you in an email. All right, that's going to wrap us up here. Carol, Laura, thank you so much for spending so much of your time making our community great. Love hanging out with you guys. And then for all of you that have joined us here today, thank you for growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Everybody get your shot if you can.
There you go. Get vaccinated if you're into that. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.